I started to get more involved in revenue management, from the start, I've been able to understand revenue management from a holistic perspective, like overall, and it's not just about your pricing and your minimum stays, but it's also about what are you doing for your marketing strategy? What are you doing to sell the home, upsell the home with amenities and add-ons? What's the design like, right? Because all of those things ultimately play into where you sit within the market and how your listing performs.
Welcome to RevLabs by PriceLabs.
Welcome to a new episode of the RevLabs podcast by PriceLabs. Today we're talking with Monique DeLorenzo. She's a solutions consultant at PriceLabs. We'll get to know her better, what makes her tick, and why she's at PriceLab, what she does for you guys, revenue managers. So without further ado, let's welcome Monique. Monique, how are you?
Hey, Thibaut, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good, thanks. I'm just recording this with the sun in my face, but it doesn't matter. It's actually about you, so it's all about you. Can you share a bit about your where are you at the moment?
Right now I'm in New Jersey, but by this evening I'll be up in Vermont.
Oh, look at that. Vacation, work?
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
And what's your background? Where are you from originally, and how did you start working in the vacation industry?
So I'm born and raised in New Jersey. I actually live in the house that I grew up in with my husband.
Oh, wow.
Fun. It makes for an interesting dynamic, especially just like all the history that's in this house. And my husband was definitely like hesitant when he first moved in, when we were just like dating. But over time, it's really become like our own house and less the house that I grew up in. But it's still nice knowing that we've been able to stay here. I ended up in vacation rentals because back in 2018, my husband and I actually bought a short-term rental in Vermont. That's where we're headed tonight. What started as a pipe dream, we took a trip up there one summer. It was my first time in Vermont. I had never been there before. He had been going since he was a kid. He's like, I really think you'll like it. That's all it took, was the one trip to really sell me on buying a place up there. And at the time, we kind of were hemming and hawing, like, is it the right decision? Is it something we can afford? And we kind of settled on, well, if we're able to just like rent it out on the weekends, it was definitely doable. If we rent it out on the weekends, we'll cover some of our mortgage, we'll cover some of our expenses, and we'll have a house that we can enjoy that's near skiing, near hiking, near all the things that we really love. We really didn't have expectations of it kind of taking off like it did. We knew that social media marketing was going to be important to us, and it's incredible the role that Instagram itself has played into our success. We were not only breaking even 4 months in, but we were turning a profit by 4 months in.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were really pleased with how it's gone. And as someone who never had experience in providing hospitality before, like I was never a waitress, I was never a bartender. I think maybe for a few months, one summer in high school, I was a hostess at a restaurant, if that even counts. Not having experience in the industry made me a little nervous going into it because I wasn't sure if it was something that I would enjoy. And I was pleasantly surprised with how rewarding it's been to just provide that excellence in hospitality to guests that come in and out of our place. And that's kind of what led me to here. As we grew and as we became successful, we added, certain technologies into our tech stack. One of the first things that we added from the get-go was dynamic pricing. So I've been a PriceLabs user for a long time prior to starting working for the company. And, when the opportunity came about for me to kind of reevaluate what I wanted to do with my career, my husband said to me, like, why don't you consider going into the short-term rental industry? Why don't you see if there's something out there for you? And I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And PriceLabs was one of the companies that I applied for, and I'm glad that I ended up applying and ultimately accepting the position here, because it's been really rewarding, and it's been really nice to work with people from not just my area of the industry on like the smaller side of hosts, but getting to expand my knowledge and understand what it looks like for more established hosts and larger property management companies, and what similarities and differences there are between the two.
It's very interesting to me, and thanks for sharing that, because we obviously, some solution consultants were revenue managers in other life, but you were a host. You know, you're still a host, and I think it does bring so much to the company, to PriceLabs itself, when we have people who understand what it's like to be a host. So how do you see it? Because to me, it's a plus, right? That you can, for example, sometimes look at our products or the copy and give feedback, because you can really feel what it's like to be a host and to use that for yourself, for your own business.
Yeah, I mean, I think for myself personally, I apply the same principles in business as I do to hosting, which is provide an excellent level of service, right? Whether you're my guest or whether you're one of my clients, I want to make sure that I'm providing you with excellent service. I'm answering your questions with thorough, thought out responses. I'm helping you set your account up in the way that matches whatever strategy, you know, my customers are trying to do. I also think that it gave me the ability to immediately from the get-go, as I started to get more involved in revenue management, from the start, I've been able to understand revenue management from a holistic perspective, like overall, you know, and it's not just about your pricing and your minimum stays, but it's also about what are you doing for your marketing strategy? What are you doing to sell the home, upsell the home with amenities and add-ons? What's the design like, right? Because all of those things ultimately play into where you sit within the market and how your listing performs.
Thinking not of hosts anymore, but let's say large users, people who have like hundreds of listings, and we have quite a few of those at PriceLabs. You basically you talk with people like this several times a week. I'm hearing, right? To let you onboard them, as you said, you answer any question they have. What have you seen that? What are maybe the some struggles or some like challenges that you see these kind of accounts have when, you know, could be related to PriceLabs, not to PriceLabs, revenue management? What are some common struggles you hear about?
I think the most common struggle is knowing when to outsource certain decisions, whether it's outsourcing by hiring someone or by hiring a consultant. Most commonly, I'm seeing that in the revenue manager space, because we have property managers who are ultimately very familiar with their markets. They know what's normal, what's not normal. They've been watching changes over time, and they've been doing the revenue management themselves. But it does come to a point where your portfolio gets so large, your homes become so much to manage. You're managing all these other pieces of the puzzle, like operations, finance, guest experience, the communication, all of those things, that revenue management unfortunately sometimes starts to take a backseat to some of the more pressing concerns. And we really don't want that to happen, right? Because ultimately revenue management is impacting your bottom line. So a lot of the struggle that I see is knowing when to bring in that additional help. Like I said, it could be hiring someone, but it could also be working part-time with a consultant.
And when a let's say a property manager comes to you and asks you the question, how do you help them think through that? How, I guess there's no like straight answer, you can't answer for them, but how do you help them think through finding an answer for themselves?
I mean, I think the best question to ask is, how much time do you currently have to dedicate to revenue management per week? Because if you're not looking at your pricing strategy, you know, if you're managing 100 listings, 150 listings, and you're not looking at your strategy and your performance at least 3 times a week, at least, then you're probably missing out on some opportunities. You know, when you start to hit that higher threshold of listings, you are unable to view things from like a bird's eye view anymore. You need to start diving into the deeper analytics based on segment, based on bedroom count, based on location. And, you know, quite frankly, even with software tools, that is a time-consuming task.
That's very, I like it. It's very concrete. I like that. I mean, of course, it's not, it's a rule of thumb 3 times a week, but at least if you don't, at least it's a good signal. I like this. Very convenient. Now thinking about the other way around, large companies or revenue managers that you've seen succeeding, are there any I don't know, tactics, strategies that you see them use that make them so successful?
Aside from having someone dedicated to revenue management, if not multiple people, segmentation is really important. Yeah. You know, whether you segment by location, by, you know, market tier, luxury versus economy, bedroom count, amenities, there's all sorts of things that you can segment by, right? I think that the people who are able to identify trends the easiest and have the most impact are the people who are segmenting their portfolio and looking at things on a more granular basis.
All right. And segmenting, I think it's, if you go a bit deeper on this one, I heard what you said, right? I can segment based on geography, amenities, and sometimes as well as performance, right? I'm guessing also people segment across like my non-performing. What are, is it like segmenting and performance? It's something you've seen, and how does that work?
Yeah, it is something that I've seen. Now, the KPIs that determine a good performer from a bad performer are going to differ between, you know, all property management companies. But I do often see, for example, like in PriceLabs, you can use like groups to segment and even subgroups. What I typically see some of my larger users doing is they have everything segmented at a high level using the groups, whether it's by the amenities or the bedroom count, whatever the location or condo building that it's in. Oftentimes they will have a subgroup that they can then assign to listings that are either underperforming or overperforming, that have additional tweaks that get applied to kind of try to either boost performance or try to increase revenue if they have a listing that's overperforming and they want to try to be really aggressive and earn even more for that. That's
super interesting. And final question, and here I will go back a bit to the personal side of this. So, you know, you had other job before joining PriceLabs, or of course now you're here at PriceLabs, and you think back of your career, and were there people or was there an experience that really helped you grow, that something that made a difference in your life that you want to share with people listening?
That is a great question, Thibaut. I feel like some of the most impactful people in my life have been the people who have acted as mentors, and I've had a handful of them, both within this industry and in industries that I was in previously. Prior to being in vacation rentals, I was actually in the wholesale jewelry industry. My first experience with a, you know, larger company in the jewelry industry, I had this amazing boss, and she took the time to take me under her wing and really not just show me how things are done, but explain why we do things certain ways. And it was that level of transparency between my manager and myself that really left a positive impact on me. And I realized how valuable that can be when you're working either with people under you or just with colleagues. That open communication can really impact someone's work experience positively. I think that really shaped me. And I would say second to that, every single individual who encouraged my husband and I to just go for it and purchase that vacation rental. I mean, at the time, it honestly, looking back, I'm like, how could we have even been scared? You know, we hit our goals so quickly, but at the time, like, that was a big step. I mean, I was 20, no, I was 30 the year that we bought it. So I was like fairly, you know, young to be buying an investment property for the first time. And this was, again, back in 2018, before the industry really expanded with COVID. And this is even before that. So it was a unique approach to investing and kind of like long-term planning. And everyone that pushed us to just do it, like, I owe an immense amount of gratitude to.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I like this, right? Hearing the why, understanding why you do things, transparency, encouragement, and being grateful. Yeah, that's such a good message. Monique, thank you so much for your time, for the insight. If people watching and listening want to reach out, what's the best? LinkedIn, email, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can reach me on LinkedIn, Monique DeLorenzo. Actually, it might be Monique DeLorenzo Pomeroy with my hyphenated last name. I check my messages there. I also check my messages on our social media for our short-term rental, which is called the Vermont A-Frame. That has taken a back seat because it's kind of a well-oiled machine at this point. So I definitely need to step my game up in marketing, but I do manage our messages on a frequent basis.
Cool. Once again, Monique from PriceLabs and the Vermont A-Frame. Sorry. Thank you so much for your time today and insights. Take care.
Thanks, Thibaut. Bye.